Welcome back. Tonight, we're venturing into the shadows of the shopping mall, a place that transforms from a bustling hub to a desolate, echoing void after hours. The stories you'll hear are real experiences from people who found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. Prepare for unsettling accounts of unexplained noises, strange encounters, and events that defy logic. So, turn down the lights and listen closely as we peel back the curtain on the terrifying reality beneath the surface of everyday life. These true mall horror stories might just change the way you see your local shopping center forever. My name is Mark, and I have a story to tell you. A story that still sends shivers down my spine to this day. It's a story about a place, a job, and something else. Something I can't quite explain. For 2 years, I worked as a night security guard. It wasn't my dream job, not by a long shot. But it paid the bills, and honestly, I needed the quiet. I thought I wanted the quiet. My post was at a large 2-story mall in the Midwest, a sprawling complex of retail spaces, a monument to consumerism that fell silent and still every night. The job was quiet, almost peaceful. At least, that's how it started. The first few months were uneventful. Just me, the echoing footsteps, and the hum of the ventilation system. I'd walk the corridors, check the doors, make sure everything was locked up tight. But everything changed on one October night. The air was crisp, the leaves were turning, and something felt different. I was on patrol near the old abandoned department store. It had been closed for years, a dark, hulking presence at the end of the West Wing. It always gave me the creeps. That's when I heard it, a faint, rhythmic tapping. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but definitely there. The sound seemed to be coming from inside a closed boutique, a small clothing store a few doors down from the department store. I shined my flashlight into the store. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing only mannequins, frozen in the dark, their blank stares unnerving in the artificial light. The tapping stopped as soon as I shone my light on the storefront. It was as if whatever was making the noise didn't want to be seen. I shrugged it off, telling myself it was probably just the building settling, or maybe my imagination was getting the best of me. But as I neared the food court, a large, cavernous space usually bustling with activity during the day, now completely deserted, I heard something else. A child's laugh, echoing through the empty space. It was high-pitched, innocent-sounding, but utterly out of place. My blood ran cold. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. I knew deep down that something was wrong, but I forced myself to investigate, telling myself it was my job, that I had to make sure everything was secure. The food court was empty, save for the faint hum of the refrigerators and the dim glow of the emergency lights. The silence was deafening. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe a sound from outside carried in. Maybe I was just hearing things. Maybe I was tired and my mind was playing tricks on me. I retreated back to the security office, a small, windowless room filled with monitors displaying feeds from security cameras scattered throughout the mall. I watched the monitors, nerves frayed, trying to shake off the feeling of unease. The silence in the office, usually a comfort, now felt menacing, heavy with unspoken dread. Then, as I scanned the monitors, I noticed something on the atrium camera, something that made my heart leap into my throat. I saw something impossible, something that defied all logic and reason. A mannequin from the boutique, the same one I had seen earlier, now stood by the fountain in the center of the atrium, its blank face staring directly at the camera. I rewound the footage, my hands shaking, desperate to understand what I was seeing. One moment, the area was completely empty. The next, the mannequin was standing there, as if it had simply materialized out of thin air. There was no sign of it being moved, no indication of anyone or anything having touched it. Terror washed over me, a cold, paralyzing wave that left me gasping for breath. The mall was sealed, locked up tight for the night. I was supposed to be alone, the only living soul in that vast, silent space. I called my supervisor, my voice shaking so badly I could barely speak. I tried to explain what I had seen, but the words felt inadequate, ridiculous even. He told me to stay in the office, to lock the door and wait for morning. He said he'd be there as soon as he could. I watched the mannequin on the monitor all night, my eyes glued to the screen, afraid to blink, afraid of what I might see if I looked away. It never moved, not once, until dawn, when the first rays of sunlight began to filter through the skylights. Then it simply vanished, disappearing as mysteriously as it had appeared. I checked the footage again and again, rewinding and replaying, searching for any clue, any explanation. It was there, then gone. No sign of movement, no trace of its presence. When my relief arrived, bleary-eyed and smelling of coffee, I tried to explain what had happened, but he just laughed it off, dismissing it as a late-night hallucination. My supervisor, however, took me more seriously. He reviewed the tapes with me, his face growing paler with each passing second. The footage was clear, undeniable. The mannequin appeared and disappeared with no explanation, defying all the laws of physics and common sense. I quit that day. I couldn't spend another night in that building, knowing that something else was there, something unseen, something wrong. Sometimes when I drive past the mall at night, its dark silhouette looming against the sky, I feel that same cold dread creeping back into my heart. I know, with a certainty that chills me to the bone, that that place isn't as empty as it looks. Something walks those silent halls when the world is asleep. Something that shouldn't be there. Something unnatural. And I'm just glad I'm not there to see it anymore. This story comes from Clara, a tale of a day that began like any other, but quickly spiraled into a nightmare. A day where a simple trip to the mall turned into an unending search, a constant ache of uncertainty. Who, in the summer of 2008, a time of flip phones and carefree days, went to the mall with her younger sister Lily. Little did they know, this ordinary outing would become etched in their memories forever, a stark reminder of the fragility of safety. The mall was packed, a swarming hive of shoppers seeking refuge from the summer heat, teenagers gossiping, families grabbing a quick bite. The air buzzed with the murmur of countless conversations, the clatter of trays, and the distant echoes of music from the stores. Clara, 16, responsible and ever watchful, felt the weight of her age as she looked after her younger sister. She navigated the crowded corridors, her eyes scanning the sea of faces, a silent promise to keep Lily safe. Sent 9-year-old Lily, bright and bubbly in her favorite pink t-shirt, to get a pretzel, a simple treat that held the promise of joy and satisfaction. It was a small task, a moment of independence for the young girl, a moment that would soon be tainted by fear. While she saved their table, a small island of calm amidst the bustling chaos. She chose a spot where she could easily see the pretzel stand, her gaze fixed on the growing line, anticipating Lily's return. Lily disappeared into the crowd, swallowed by the mass of bodies, a tiny figure vanishing into a sea of anonymity. The vibrant pink of her shirt was the last thing Clara saw before her sister was completely obscured. Clara kept an eye on the line, her focus unwavering, a silent countdown in her mind as she waited for Lily to reappear, pretzel in hand, a smile on her face. Spotting Lily's pink shirt at the back, a wave of relief washing over her. She could see her patiently waiting, shifting from foot to foot, her eyes likely fixed on the tempting pretzels ahead. Minutes passed, each one stretching into an eternity, the background noise of the mall fading into a dull hum as Clara's anxiety began to simmer. The line moved, slowly inching forward, but Lily was gone. The pink shirt vanished without a trace. A cold dread began to creep into Clara's heart, a feeling that something was terribly wrong. Clara assumed Lily was closer to the front, perhaps distracted by something, maybe admiring the golden brown pretzels, trying to decide which flavor to choose. But after 10 minutes, worry set in, a gnawing feeling that refused to be ignored. The carefree atmosphere of the mall suddenly felt menacing, the crowd a potential hiding place for something sinister. She searched the food court, her voice cracking as she called for Lily, the name echoing through the crowded space, unanswered. No one had seen her, no one remembered a little girl in a pink shirt. It was as if she had never been there at all. Panic rising, a suffocating wave of fear, Clara ran to mall security, her heart pounding in her chest, desperate for help. They reassured her, offering platitudes and promises, but their eyes betrayed a growing unease. But as time passed, their concern grew, mirroring Clara's own escalating terror. The mall, once a place of leisure, transformed into a hunting ground. Security and police searched everywhere, every store, every corner, every hidden space, their efforts growing increasingly frantic. No sign of Lily, no trace of her presence, as if she had simply ceased to exist. Witnesses described a man standing near Lily in line, a detail that sent shivers down Clara's spine. Both said his face was blurry, an unsettling anomaly in their recollections, impossible to focus on, as if some unseen force was obscuring his features. Security footage confirmed it. A tall, indistinct man stood behind Lily, a silent observer in the bustling crowd. His face was a pixelated void, a disturbing blank space in the digital record. Unlike anyone else in the crowd, their faces clear and distinct. As the line moved, Lily and the man were blocked from view by a pillar, a momentary obstruction that would forever haunt the investigation. When the camera's sight cleared, both were gone, vanished into thin air, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a chilling sense of unease. They never appeared on any other camera, as if they had stepped into another dimension. It was as if they'd vanished in seconds, leaving no trace, no clue, only a lingering sense of dread. The case went cold, a file gathering dust, a forgotten tragedy. No leads, no suspects, just a void where answers should have been. Clara's family was devastated, their lives shattered, forever marked by the absence of Lily. The story became a local legend, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. But the detail of the blurry-faced man haunted Clara most, a constant reminder of the unknown. Years later, she still dreams of that day, the day her sister vanished. The crowd, the pretzel stand, her sister's pink shirt disappearing, a fading memory. Sometimes, in her dreams, the mall is darker, more sinister. The man with the blurry face stands just out of sight, always watching, always waiting. Lily was never found, a ghost in the machine. Her disappearance remains one of the most chilling mysteries in the state's history, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most ordinary of places. A chilling testament to the fact that sometimes people simply vanish, leaving behind only questions and a void that can never be filled. Our final story comes from David, a seasoned foreman with years of experience under his belt. He was hired to oversee the renovation of a long-abandoned wing of an old mall, a project that promised to be both challenging and potentially lucrative. Little did he know, the real challenge wouldn't be the dilapidated structure, but the unsettling presence that dwelled within. The wing had been sealed off for over a decade, a forgotten relic of a bygone era. It remained untouched since its anchor store, a once popular department store, went bankrupt and shuttered its doors. The mall management had simply bricked up the entrances, leaving everything inside to gather dust and decay. When David's crew finally breached the sealed entrances and stepped inside, they found a veritable time capsule of the early 90s, a snapshot of a decade frozen in time. It was dusty, silent, and oppressively dark. The air hung heavy with the scent of stale perfume and forgotten dreams. From day one, strange and inexplicable things began to happen. Subtle at first, but escalating in intensity as the days wore on. Tools vanished without a trace, only to reappear later in the most illogical and odd places, often far from where they were last used. Faint, almost ethereal carousel music echoed through the empty corridors, a ghostly melody that seemed to drift from nowhere and everywhere at once. And unsettling whispers, too indistinct to decipher, seemed to constantly follow them, just at the edge of hearing. The workers felt like they were never truly alone. The old employee corridor, a narrow passage behind the stores, was by far the worst area, a place everyone dreaded having to enter. It was frigid, even on warm days, oppressively claustrophobic, and filled with an overwhelming sense of being watched by unseen eyes. The air itself felt thick and heavy, charged with a palpable sense of dread. One electrician, a burly man not easily spooked, was working alone in the corridor, trying to restore power to the antiquated electrical system. Suddenly, he felt a cold, wet hand grab his ankle with surprising force. He didn't look back. He simply ran and refused to ever return to the abandoned wing. After that incident, the paranormal activity escalated dramatically. Plastic sheeting, used to seal off construction areas, was found shredded to ribbons overnight, despite the fact that all access points were supposedly secure. David, a pragmatic man, tried to maintain a skeptical outlook, attributing the events to drafts, rodents, or the overactive imaginations of his crew. But his skepticism began to crumble when he himself witnessed something truly impossible. He was in the main atrium, carefully measuring the space with two of his most trusted workers, when they all heard a violent crash from somewhere above them. They looked up to see the rusted security gate of the old toy store rattling violently, as if something large and desperate was trapped inside trying to escape. Then, as they watched in stunned silence, a single red rubber ball rolled out from under the gate, seemingly from nowhere. It bounced once, twice, and then landed directly at their feet, a silent offering from the haunted store. The store, of course, was locked up tight and completely empty. There was no way anyone could have been inside, let alone rolled a ball out from under the gate. The ball's sudden appearance defied all logic and reason. It was an impossible object in an impossible place. The crew became increasingly fearful and demoralized, Workers started quitting, one by one, unable to cope with the unsettling atmosphere. Progress on the renovation slowed to a crawl as the remaining workers became hesitant and distracted. The breaking point, the moment that finally shattered David's resolve, came one evening when he was working late, alone in the atrium. He heard the distinct sound of a child crying softly from behind the toy store gate. He cautiously called out, his voice trembling slightly. "Hello? Is anyone there?" The crying abruptly stopped. Then, a faint, chilling child's voice whispered from the darkness. "Can you come play with us?" David didn't hesitate. He turned and ran as fast as he could, not stopping until he was far away from the mall and its haunted wing. He never returned, leaving the project unfinished. Despite David's departure, the renovation was eventually completed by another crew, though under a cloud of unease and apprehension. But even after the renovation was finished and the wing reopened, stories of unexplained whispers, fleeting shadows, and a persistent feeling of being watched continue to persist among the mall's employees and visitors. Security guards and cleaning staff still report hearing the distinct sound of a bouncing ball echoing through the empty corridors late at night, long after the last stores have closed. Whatever malevolent entity or entities were awakened in that long-abandoned wing decided to stay, claiming the space as their own. It remains a permanent, unseen resident of the mall's most haunted corner, forever lurking in the shadows and whispering invitations to play. The bright lights and crowds of a shopping mall create an illusion of safety, but as these stories show, when silence falls, a different reality emerges. The security guard, the family torn apart, the workers who disturbed something best left alone, all discovered the darkness that can hide in plain sight. These accounts remind us we may not always be as alone as we think. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you want more stories that send a shiver down your spine, like and subscribe. Have you ever had a creepy experience in a mall? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone. Sometimes the scariest things happen in the places we least expect. Until next time, stay safe and keep an eye on the shadows.